Okay, so we're going to show you on this section the use of bridging ladders stroke waffle boards for extra traction. We're actually using them in this instance though for bridging. Now I know previously we've showed you that it is possible to cross ravines like this at an angle if you're careful, but there may be possibilities where you do need to bridge a gap like this. Certain vehicles couldn't cross through this at an angle. So we've done a little bit of preparation, and as you can see you're probably wondering why one is higher than the other. Well, if you look, the natural fall of the land is to the left here, so we don't want to give the vehicle any chances of like slipping off to the left and possibly tipping over. So what we've done, we've staggered it to counteract the fall of the land. We're going to have a spotter working, watching Darren across. As a safety feature as well, you always want to be wearing gloves when you're handling these, especially the waffle boards, because of the fibres in them, they can stick in your hands. You never want to be on the downside of a vehicle either. It would be a silly place to do, being just here, if the car tips over. Okay, so as you can see now, Darren's just concentrating on Luke's directions. He's in first gear, low gearbox, diff lock engaged, and just slightly slipping the clutch and touching the accelerator at the same time, just feeding it on there very carefully. You don't want a lot of weight transference very quickly here. That can actually move the ladders around and put you into a bit of a tricky position. You see there, the body sway a little bit fast on there, but the ladders, they didn't move. As you can see there, fantastic use of bridging ladders in how they should be used. Feeding the vehicle in very, very slowly so we don't get a lot of weight transfer. Sudden speed, sudden movements can actually dislodge the bridging ladders and cause them to tip over. You need to be on them very central. If you're on the edge of them, they could actually tip over sideways and drop you into the ravine, and that could be quite a few nasty consequences because of that. Luke and Darren are just setting up now, and we're changing over to what they call waffle boards. They're not quite as strong as obviously the steel. They will give a little bit, as you notice here. So same technique. Darren's concentrating on Luke. Going to do this one a little bit slower because I want you to look at that waffle board. It's not going to hold so steady and so straight and strong. So look at the give on that there, look. Incredible amount of give. So you've got to be a little bit careful. See, slightly off track there, but you know, you'd really need to be watching what weight you had. If I had a heavy vehicle, if I was on an expedition and they were all I had, I'd be certainly looking at possibly taking a little bit of weight out of the vehicle, because the last thing you want them to do is to shatter and snap in half. As you can see, the right hand one there is actually fairly supported. It's got a bit of overhang either side of it, but the left hand side one, there's a big gap underneath it. And in certain circumstances with a heavier vehicle, it may be as well to go and get rocks, logs, I think, just to give it a bit of support underneath. I mean, that is another way. You know, obviously we've got the sandmats and the bridging ladders here, but if you're out on expedition with nothing like that, a bit of preparation with a spade and then putting rocks, trees in there, and it's like a brash mat effect, you can actually build your own bridging system across there as well. So you can see that's a sheer drop. Try and drop over that in a standard vehicle, you're just going to land on your chassis or probably nosedive and do yourself in the car serious injury. So we've placed these in the ground, we've dug them in at the bottom because obviously the weight distribution now at this point, as you can see, it's trying to push them forward, and they're just digging in the ground at that time, still digging in the ground. Now they've stabilised themselves, still digging themselves in. Sinking down there very nicely. The trouble is here, the ground, as you can see, is very, very soft sand. Very soft sand. Fronts down. See, without those, we definitely would have actually reached our ramp breakover angle just there. We would also probably approach the approach angle would have been hit as well. Coming to the back of the vehicle now, probably find that the tow bar is also going to hit, but I'd rather have a tow bar on the back of a vehicle because it's going to protect the back bodywork. It can sometimes get you hooked up in places as well. Believe it or not, that tow bar only just kissed just there. As you can see, look what we're left with. One ladder in virtually the position it started from, the other one's collapsed. That's not down to the preparation, that's purely down to this very, very soft ground that we're using. But it got us down there, and that's the main thing.
Inside, slower. Slower.
As you can see earlier on there, because of the soft sand, the bridging ladder on this side actually collapsed and pushed forward. So I've just repositioned it, put the waffle board on top to spread the load out a little bit more. And now we're just using clutch and brake technique, feeding the vehicle in very slowly. We didn't want to carry on earlier because with the bridging ladder down on the floor, the overhang on the Discovery would have smashed down very heavily on the bank there and actually caused quite a bit of damage to it. As you can see now, as we're lowering the vehicle in slowly, the overhanging point there, the lowest point, is actually the exhaust system. You've got to watch that you don't damage that. Compress that up, your exhaust gases don't get away and you start to damage your engine. You can see just very, very slowly. There should be never any rush. It's that sudden movement sometimes, that compression of the suspension that can change everything. Tow bar just kissed in and down we go. Another vehicle successfully down that drop. As you see now, Ed's trying to get up here now. A little bit of power, look at that, and up we go. The idea of when you're doing that type of manoeuvre is try and reduce any wheel spin, because obviously one wheel spinning could actually just spit out one of the bridging ladders or the mat in there to get it out of the way.